Hey, good afternoon, Secret Beachcombers. It is I, your big kahuna, Jason T. Smith. What is happening? First off, if you click the bad link, I'm sorry, my bad. Try to make it easy for you guys, and I put a bum link up there. So I will try to never do that again. Luckily, we caught it soon enough. And I started a little late because I was trying to do something funny, and then I couldn't find it. So Lynn is going to talk to us today about Poshmark. Lynn, how are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. So, I was going to put on a Spice Girls sweatshirt, a t-shirt, because someone mentioned how quick before we get a Spice Girls reference. And I have 4, and I can't find any of them. And I thought my closet was pretty clean. Apparently not. I can't find 1 of 4. And then you had the audacity to say Posh Spice is the best spice.
Well, I go back and forth between my favorites. So,
Yeah, ginger is the best. I will tell you, Posh, if you I follow the Spice Girls to a weird level. Posh is definitely the worst singer. She is horrible.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I'm with you there.
She's so bad. I'm shocked she made the cut originally. Like, there had to be some other girl in England who was pretty and had her kind of vibe that could actually sing, because they've all released solo records. I'm gonna get Spice Girls nutty for a second here. They've all released solo records, and I'm a completist when I collect something. Yeah, I don't got her solo records. They're that horrible. They're that just like even with correction and auto tune, it's still that bad. I'm like, ugh, I can't even fathom what natural would be. So, all right, so today we're going to talk about, I know some of you are on it, some of you don't even know what the hell it is, some of you who have heard of this. We're going to talk about Poshmark, but I'm a little behind to read my paper, so this is last Wednesday's USA Today. I want to read you a couple lines I highlighted from an article called "As Retailers Struggle, Resale Shops Find a Niche." And so what they're talking about is normal old school retail, buying new clothes, is on the decline. Buying secondhand goods, whether it be from us online or at a thrift store or at a curated secondhand store, kind of like a Plato's Closet. But there's a couple things that I highlighted that I wanted to go over because it is very apropos for today. As traditional mainstream retail struggles in stores such as Gap and JCPenney close stores, the consignment clothing and accessory market continues to grow. There will be $33 billion in resale apparel by 2021. So in 2021, there'll be $33 billion worth of resale of secondhand apparel, and that's up from $18 billion last year. So it's going to double in 5 years. So that's the market. That's what we do. Now, I don't know if all of you sell clothing, but I think we all dabble in it to one degree or another. But the other thing that really, really I loved, Lynn will love, and all of us who sell clothes will love, supply doesn't seem to be running out. The average American woman, and I put myself in that category because I am a big girl, doesn't wear 60% of the items in her closet, or about $220 billion in potential inventory. So what that means, so I can break it down for you, is me and Lynn and all you guys are going to have plenty of stuff to sell going forward because, look, I try to find 1 of 4 t-shirts in my closet, and if you've been in my closet, and there's a few of you in the chat, Debbie's in there, Robin's in there, you've seen my closet, you're blown away. Because I have a big walk-in closet. It is 87% Jason clothes and 13% my wife's clothes. And so for me not to find 4 t-shirts, it's kind of understandable, but kind of not, because all my shit's by color. So I went through all my black shirts and I couldn't find my Spice Girls t-shirts. I don't know where they're at. But the point is, there's product out there that'll always be out there. And people are always cleaning out their clothes, always cleaning out their drawers, their closets. And so now, and I didn't even plan this out, but here's a lead-in. We're going to talk about virtual closets. Hey, Lynn, how are you? You like that? Got that off the cuff? That was all right.
Anyway, just through and through.
So, let me ask you this: when did you start on Poshmark?
I started in 2013, so I've been doing this for about 4 years. I am a full-time reseller. I've been a full-time reseller for about 2 years. And I'm a Full-time meaning I'm a mom first, and then I am a reseller second. So if the kiddo needs me, she wins, and then I sell on that way. I came to Poshmark because I was intimidated by eBay, and I found a really great solution in Poshmark and went to Poshmark first. And then because of the thrifting board in the Secret Beach, have I like gone over to eBay. But I had lost money a couple times on eBay. Once you do that a few times when you have no money to lose, it was a little nerve-wracking. And so Poshmark, far more simpler than anything out there on the market.
So what? So before we get a little bit deeper into Poshmark, what scared you, or maybe still scares you, about eBay?
eBay, there's so many different shipping varieties. If you guess wrong, if you forget they're going to take 10% of your shipping cost. When I started with eBay 4 years ago, it wasn't all in the seller hub. Like if you're not a constant professional eBay bear, I could never find out what my invoice was going to be, ever. And I would look for like 15 minutes. And I'm like, I know I owe eBay money. I couldn't ever find it. So I'm like having money sit in my PayPal account, trying to figure out how much I'm going to owe eBay. And it was never very clear to me. And so, and then weighing and getting that stuff wrong, that was also really, when you have a preemie at home and you're dealing with, it was just too much. So one night in the middle of the night, I Googled alternatives to eBay, and there was Posh. And I was a normal Posher for about a year and a half, and then I really stepped it up and became a full-time reseller.
And so you and I and a couple of your friends, who are not my friends, we went thrifting, and we hit a Savers. I took you guys to Crazy Town. Unfortunately, nothing really crazy happened, unfortunately.
I'm not sure if that's unfortunate.
You know, there was no naked people in Savers that day. No one's pooping in the parking lot. There was no good stories. But then we did go to Frankie's, had some cocktails, and you know, it was very fun and different to be looking at a thrift store through two totally different sets of eyes. You guys were looking at it through Poshmark almost solely, and I, of course, was looking at it through eBay. And so we were comparing items like, wow, I would get this on eBay, and you're like, I'd only get this on Poshmark. So, you know, you can sell, and we've talked about it before, you can sell things on eBay and Amazon, and the same product has way different prices, sometimes better here, sometimes better there. So it is a whole different beast, but you excel at it. And so you are my, like, I bow to you, because, you know, before we get into what you want to teach, let me show you something that you'll probably laugh and be horrified about. There we go. Okay, so here's my Poshmark that I signed up over a year ago. And here's how I so didn't know what the hell I was doing or what was going on. I have one item in my closet, and it's a men's shirt.
There it is. Okay.
So many things. Poshmark's all women, correct?
Well, it's now opened up to children and men. That happened last year.
Okay, but I think when I was on, because I got some shit from friends, there was no men's, and I sold this shirt on another venue, probably about a year ago. So here it sits, my one lone item.
That's awesome.
But that's why I'm ready today. I'm ready. Let's do this. Get me going. So how do you get started? Like, give us what Poshmark is in a nutshell, because it's not just a selling site. There's a little bit more to it than just throwing stuff up for sale.
Right. So Poshmark was one of the first truly mobile apps. It really didn't have a online site, like a website. It fully functioned in the app platforms in app stores. It initially launched on iPhone and iOS, and then I went to Android, and it was solely mobile, and they designed everything for mobile. So much like using what we use now for the eBay app, you snap a couple photos using your phone, and then off it goes. Initially, the intent was to engage women and get women to be business owners in a pretty substantial way. eBay wasn't providing that necessarily for young millennial women. And so Poshmark really wanted to step up and answer that question. The issue with it was millennial women are not a traditional shopper. They don't want to go necessarily into a big box store and shop. They really want to have a more curated Instagram kind of experience. And so that's really what the huge difference is big power poshers like me and other people who are like on the top of their posh game are basically style influencers. So as a mom in Colorado, I don't feel particularly fashion-y in any way. You know, like I am happy to have a clean shirt on, but taste level kind of elevates us. And so for Poshmark, there's lots of like very niche-based experts in fashion. So the way Jason's an expert in tiki, there might be an expert in anthropology clothing from one specific designer, like Nanette Lepore. This is what she sold at Anthropology for the last like 15 years, and they have every piece in the collection, and they flip all of the pieces just the way you would do with tiki or any other collectible. So kind of treating fashion as not just you know, fast fashion Forever 21 kind of answer. Like there's definitely a lot of millennial women who want this kind of social experience as well as a shopping experience. So on eBay, you search, you find what you want, and you buy it. There's a lot of influence that comes along with it. So you go into my closet, you find what you want, and I say, hey, this would look really great on you. And it usually does. And she might just bundle it with the rest of her purchase. So she might come into my closet looking for a pair of shoes and come out with a scarf, a coat, and a pair of shoes just because of the interaction that I have with her. So I treat all of my customers on Poshmark like I would treat my best friend's older sister. Someone I don't know, someone I vaguely want to impress, and someone I definitely do not want to piss off. So that's how I treat everyone on Poshmark.
So I got to imagine, based on what you just said, you have to be really on top of communication, even more so than if you're on eBay or Amazon, because it is all about that interact. You know, it's not just about the buying; it's about the interaction between you and the person in your closet. You want to help them, but of course, you also want to sell more. Like, oh, these shoes look great with that scarf, kind of thing.
Yeah. So that's exactly what it is. There's a definite potential to bundle, which is the official Poshmark term, to style people. A lot of top Poshmark sellers, like reoccurring customers. So I have one who lives in Boston. She and I have connected on a couple different similar things that have happened in our life, where we attended college, all sorts of different things. So she and I have become, basically, I am the person who goes and shops for her. And so she comes to my closet every 2 weeks on payday and asks what I found for her. And so in that previous 2 weeks, I always list things with her in mind based on her size, her type, her style, what she does for a living. And so if something comes in, I will tag her and say, hey, I just popped this up for you. If it's something that you want on payday, I'll hold it for you. If not, just let me know and I'll let other people buy it. And so, you know, like that doesn't happen on eBay. Generally.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't happen on eBay to that extent, but I do have my returning customers with both tiki mugs and Hawaiian shirts, and I started to get requests. But so I feel because of that, I'm a little bit primed to get my Poshmark going because I already kind of have that. And I've got customers who I've now met in person who reach out and say, I'm actually looking for this specific item. So not only are they buying my new stuff, now I'm on the hunt. And so you have this in mind. And so, yeah, I think, well, gosh, I do, you know, a decent amount of women's clothes. So I've already got that mentality of, hey man, I'm hunting down this for my customer because I know he likes this and he needs this. I mean, I got to the point where when I met one of them in London, we never met. I found 2 things he was looking for, and I didn't tell him, and I just said, send me $100. And he's like, well, okay, we've had enough interaction, and we're going to see each other in a week that I kind of trust you. I said, and by the way, it's only a down payment. You're going to owe me more, but we'll discuss it when we get together. And he trusted me enough at that point to send me $100, but he got a sweet deal on 2 very rare mugs, and he was so excited to add them to his collection that it was fun. It was a fun interaction and experience with the customer that, we just you don't normally have.
Yeah, absolutely. Poshmark has really come out publicly to state that we are seller stylists. We're not just people who are on Posh to earn some money. There's a certain element of me wanting to make I want to make their day. And part of Poshmark is we think of each other's closets as boutiques for the most part. My closet, I have a general selection. I don't really have a specific niche. I just go for everything and anything I know that will sell. But when you buy something from Poshmark, they encourage you to wrap it in tissue paper, put pretty ribbon on it, and definitely beyond what you would get in eBay. eBay, you put it in a tie-back envelope and you send it away. Poshmark, you're getting like a birthday present every time you order something. Just the way you walk into Nordstrom and they wrap it in tissue and they send it off with you and you feel great, and there's an elevated price point for it. And for me, Poshmark's worked a lot better than any other selling platform.
So I got a question about shipping, but I want you to do something first. There is a small, weird bit of feedback coming from your end.
Okay.
It's like almost inaudible, but you can hear it enough where I'm sure some poor dogs are howling at some of our viewers' houses. So if you hover your mouse over the top, there is a little wheel that says settings.
Okay.
Right? And tell me what the microphone says. It's the second option down. Oh, and okay, well, that was surprising. I'm going to guess, instead of clicking the wheel, right next to the wheel is the hang up and leave call button. I'm going to guess Lynn hung up on us. So, all right, well, that was the first. I've never had a guest just be like, I'm out of here. I think you hung up. Sorry about that. So before we get Lynn back here, I think Poshmark is cool. Imagine if you took eBay and Etsy and stirred it in a pot with like Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Pinterest. So there's this interacting you do from a social standpoint, and then there's the obvious selling. And so you're curating, like Lynn said, she doesn't have a specific look, but I can understand. And back.
How fun was that? Sorry.
So did you click on the little thing that says end call?
No. I realized that I had YouTube going on the background, and that's feedback. So hopefully we'll resolve all of this.
No, feedback is still there, unfortunately. Now, do you happen to have a set of headphones with a mic handy, like earbuds from an iPhone or something like that?
Absolutely. Let me go get one. Just a second.
Yeah, let's try that. And then while she's gone, I'll keep chatting with you guys. So all of us are here together on Facebook, and then all of us sell on eBay. So we kind of got the mix already. Now with Poshmark, you put it together and you get rolling with it. And this too would be a good place where, if you're going to be on multiple platforms and really going for it. So if you're going to be on eBay and you're going to be on Poshmark, this is a good time or a good way to use your assistant. So I totally want to get this going. And so when I get back from this trip this week to Utah, I'm going to have my assistant start moving all my dresses over to Poshmark, and we'll give it a try there.
How about now? Is it better?
Yeah, it's the same. All right, so now here's what I want you to do. Click that little gear at the top that says settings.
That's what happened last time.
Well, I'll chalk it up to Google Hangouts doesn't like us. All right, so here's the deal. We're going to deal with a little bit of feedback. So obviously, her trying to work it out. Google doesn't like us today, so we'll deal with it. And I am sorry for the technical difficulties. I'm just looking over here. I see Nancy said you buy more on Poshmark than you sell, and that's a key. And I haven't done that yet, but that is a huge key. I am shocked the number of eBay sellers who don't regularly shop on eBay. How do you know what your buyers are experiencing if you don't shop on eBay? Same thing. All right, we're gonna go with the feedback. Go buy, before you get onto Poshmark to be a seller, go buy something and experience it, because when you sell on eBay, you should buy on eBay so you know what emails you're getting. Your customer gets the same email. So when your customer is lost, you know how it should work, and you can help guide them down the path. Same thing. If you're going to try out a new platform like Poshmark, get out there this weekend, find something in your size or your spouse's size or your mate's size or your daughter's size and buy something.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, particularly from a large closet as well. Someone who has a lot of sales, because Poshmark is a very unique experience, and choose someone who is a top seller. It's very obvious. You can go in and see, if you go into my closet, you can see that I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of solds. So those sellers will treat you better generally than someone who's just starting out, because they don't know what they're doing quite yet.
So before I try to get this adjusted, we kept losing you. So my question about the shipping is, you said, okay, so I get it. It's totally different. You don't just throw it a Tyvek and off it goes. Tissue paper, bow, nice box. What happens if you don't follow those type of procedures? So if you start selling on Poshmark and you're doing it eBay way, you're throwing the Tyvek, and the customer's like, this is not what I expected. It's not pretty. Does something happen to you?
Yeah, like the customer might rate you down based on shipping quality, and so, or presentation. I don't think that's an actual thing that they can choose, but you can see people giving you 4 stars versus 5 stars because they didn't like how it was packaged. And on our feedback in Poshmark, hello dog, our feedback on Poshmark is called love notes, and the love notes will say this. It felt like my birthday, or this person didn't do anything special for me, 4 stars. And you really want to try to maintain as close to 5 stars as possible. I have more than 800 sold, and I have a 4.9 or not 4.9 star rating. And so, people who sell on Poshmark seriously take it really. It's a really big deal.
Wait, you don't have a perfect 5.0? Are you slacking?
I know. You get a bad customer every 100 or so. You never know what's going to happen. So, yeah. So Poshmark, because it's a social engagement as well as a selling engagement, you can't just pop stuff up on Poshmark and forget about it and just wait for it to sell. It's not going to sell that way. Because it's a social algorithm running in the background, you really have to go into Poshmark and be consistently on Poshmark at least once a day. The average Poshmark user goes on to Poshmark for up to 10 minutes at a time, 7 to 10 times a day. So
wow.
They're treating Poshmark like Instagram or Pinterest or Facebook. They're not treating Poshmark like a selling platform. They're treating it like social. So you have to go in and treat it like you would any social media. So if you had a social media store on Facebook, for instance, or you're selling through Instagram, you really need to be present on the app. And sometimes you just pop in, you do a couple things and leave, and you don't really have to do much. I do it all the time, where I go in and I share a couple things and I'm done. I go back out.
So you sent me a couple graphics and then a bunch of examples of clothing. Should we go over the Poshmark versus eBay, comparing the platforms?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so let me make that bigger. Let me get it up here, and let's talk about it.
Sure. So on eBay, you have a set number of listings. If you don't have a store, you have monetary limits. You can sell basically anything that's legal. On Poshmark, you need to stick with fashion. Women's, men, and children's fashion only. Fashion and accessories like belts and purses and hats, gloves, all of that's fine. But you can't sell things like anything that's electronics. You can't sell headphones, you can't sell flat irons, you can't sell curling irons, anything that plugs in, off the limit. You can also, you can't sell things that are, you can't ship priority mail. So anything flammable, liquid, you know, when they ask you all those questions at the post office, you can't ship anything like that. So no nail polish, no perfume. And those are really key points because you think fashion, you think perfume, not on Poshmark. The other thing is you can list as much as you want. There's no limits whatsoever. So you can go in and add 100 new items as a brand new seller if you'd like. And I list directly from my phone. I bought an iPhone for the purpose, and so I just list directly from my phone. I use 8 photos, pop it up, and let it go. The other thing about Poshmark is it's a fashion-oriented site. So the way Jason says in eBay, you don't really have to keep it simple, stupid on your descriptions. On the opposites on Posh, I find that if I write a really basic description, I don't sell as quickly as if I write a more flowery, creative writing oriented description. So, you know, if it's teal, I will describe it as peacock blue. I'll describe it as teal. You know, I'll use different words that people might be searching for. Same thing for like dark purple. I'll also use words amethyst, other keywords that way. So Poshmark's also really great for beginners. For someone who knows fashion but is not particularly skilled at online selling, Poshmark's a really great place for people to start. eBay can be really overwhelming because Poshmark's really streamlined and intentionally simplistic. And so it's really hard to mess up on Poshmark when it comes to
well, that's good.
selling something. And then everything is a flat rate shipping fee. So your buyer, whatever they buy, they're paying $6.49, period. And it's up to £5. And it all goes in priority mail. So it's not priority mail flat rate, it's just priority mail, regardless of what it is. So if you're an eBay seller and you have a bunch of winter boots, I would pop that up on Poshmark because then you don't have to worry about, will these boots ship for $14 or will they ship for $8 like you would on eBay. And so it's all priority mail, and then you follow all the priority mail rules as well. So like, you know, no perfume, no nail polish like we discussed. The other thing about Poshmark that is unusual is it requires daily action for long-term success. So you can't just pop your listings up and hope that they sell. They might sell, but the more you engage, the likelihood of you selling faster and for more money is much higher. And I, like Jason, I run a Facebook group called Poshmark Analytics, and I invented a cool system called the 30-minute method that you can get consistent part-time income and daily sales just by using my method and not needing to go into Poshmark for anything else. So for all the eBay secret beachcombers, that might be music to your ears. So you don't have to really mess around with Poshmark too much. You can just go in and use my 30-minute method and get out. Because when people start Poshmark, you can easily lose 5-6 hours a day doing absolutely nothing that will help you earn money. And so
I like to hear that. That sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'm all about getting you the greatest return with the least amount of effort as possible. And so the 30-minute method is proven successful for about 80% of the people who use it. And at this point, I'm up to about 1,600 daily users. And so it really makes a huge difference. And we have a graphic for that. And then the other, what's that?
I'll say, yeah, I was about to say that we're going to show your method as soon as we're done with this little chart here.
Yeah, and so the other wonderful thing about Poshmark is because these shoppers are coming in with an interest in a brand generally, or in a personal aesthetic and style. Certain brands can earn more than 30 to 50% on Poshmark over eBay. And I was pulling some numbers yesterday for Jason, and I was even like stunned by the differences. And I sent him a few, and we'll talk more about those soon. And then the other thing is, because the commission is higher, is a 20% commission fee for Poshmark, you can go for higher asking prices, and they often sell for close to what you want. So when I price on Poshmark, I always price 25% over what I'm actually really wanting. And sometimes they'll just sell for 25% off over my highest. And when that happens, it's time to rejoice.
It's like magic, like, you hear trumpets playing and flutes, and you're like, yay!
Holy moly!
So is that 20% cut of theirs? Is that all in? Like,
yep,
credit card, everything. Okay.
Everything. So, like I said, Poshmark's better for beginners because it's all in. There's no additional fees for shipping. There's no additional fees for insertion fees. It's just 20%. Or if you sell anything under $15, it's $3. So I always recommend listing something that you want $15 or less for on a different platform. So I don't list many things that for $15 or less.
Gotcha. Yeah, there is a point where all sellers, and hopefully most of you guys are at that point, that you get to the point where you're like, why am I listing $3 CDs? It takes just as much time to list a $20 CD. And there's one, because I used to sell CDs, and I'm like, just one day, I'm like, I'm tired of making like 75 cents. Now, granted, I wasn't buying those one at a time. I was buying whole collections. And so in my head, I have to sell each individual one. Well, some are worth 100 and some are worth $3. I'm like, I'm tired of $3 CDs. No more. No more.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. And so when I go shopping, I'm really kind of orienting my closet to $15 or higher. I don't really, unless it's a niche product, I don't buy it or I don't buy it to resell it for less than 15.
All right. So you have this method.
Yeah.
Big and easy to read for everyone.
Yeah. So Poshmark has two different ways to use it: on the website, on the app. The app is the best, easiest way to use it. So on the app, you need to share your own listings. Some people say you need to share everything in your closet a couple times a day. I am not one of those people. Go in, you share 30, and you call it good. So there's parties that happen 4 times a day on Poshmark that usually get a surge of users. So for instance, right now on Poshmark, dresses and skirts are happening right now. So you share all of your dresses and skirts to the party, and they get attention from people who are actually specifically shopping for dresses and skirts, which is a really helpful thing. But that's kind of an advanced Poshmark user. You don't really have to do it. You just have to go in and share your stuff. And like on Facebook or on Instagram, it's really important to go and like other people's things and share their things and interact that way. Poshmark's no different. You can't just list and never go back to it. Then after you do that, you list 3 items. And if you don't have the inventory for it, which is probably not going to be the case for beachcombers, but if you don't have the inventory for it, you just delete what you have and you relist it. Because if you change up photos, it doesn't help the algorithm at all. So in my Facebook group called Poshmark Analytics, we kind of get deep, dark, and dirty into the algorithm of Poshmark. Poshmark headquarters isn't going to share that with us. So we do a lot of analytical tests based on my previous career of trying to figure out the backbone of the software. So this is where this 30-minute method has come from, is just this deep study of the analytics of Poshmark and how Poshmark users function. And I pull the data in this group, and then we go and try to learn more. So you list 3 items, you can list more than 3. We find that if you hustle through the 30-minute method, it's more beneficial than if you lollygag. So you just do it in one foul swoop and call it good. So don't just keep coming in and out and doing, this is my next step, and then you're going to go make lunch and do the next step. just get it done in 30 minutes and call it good. And then on Poshmark, you have followers. So for me personally, I have 158,000 followers on Poshmark.
Ooh, 158,000, you're the girl.
158,000 followers. So I go in every day and I follow my followers back. And that's basically a thank you. And it raises your engagement in the algorithm, and Poshmark starts showing your stuff to more and more people. And then you go in, this is kind of more advanced, but you go in and you follow new joiners. And so when Jason announced this Typhoon, someone in the thread comment said, I listed some stuff and people started following me and I got scared. Well, it's my people who are doing it. It's my 1,600 members of Poshmark Analytics. When you go in and you follow new closets, it really gives you a bump in the algorithm. It says that you're truly engaged in the app, and lo and behold, you start making sales. It's pretty amazing. And then this is a more advanced thing, but you welcome new closets, because Poshmark is a social app as much as it is a commerce app. Just saying, hi, Jason. I love your Hawaiian shirt. Probably should delete it, but I love your Hawaiian shirt and your style. I hope you enjoy Poshmark, or I hope you love this community as much as I do. That's what I typically write. And then I leave, and then I return all of the Posh love, which is what we say, like that's the word for activity. So I go and share back people's stuff, and if they're coming into my closet and commenting, I get in conversations with them, and then after that I'm done. I usually just list more stuff, and you can lose entire days on Poshmark. They do it very intentionally. It's kind of like a casino. You look down at the carpet, you have no clocks, you really don't know what's going on. Poshmark's very similar. So with the 30-minute method as your friend, you can get to the point of earning income. And that's really the important part, at least for me. The social part is not nearly as important as the income earning. And that's where I fall into the game, is try to get as many people to have a successful business on Poshmark as possible.
So you don't have to share your dollar amount, but what's a normal month in terms of how many specific items do you sell on an average?
I sell on a good, really well-focused month where little girl doesn't have any colds, or we can adopt a puppy or something like that. I typically sell over 100 items a month.
Nice.
Yeah. So a couple a day is generally what I do. There are certain Poshmark sellers who easily sell 15 to 20 items a day. That they have 6-figure businesses on Poshmark. And someday I'll get there, but I'm not quite there yet.
So, and someone may have asked this, but I'm going to ask you now, because it would be kind of how the angle I would bring to it is, you said you don't have a specific niche, but others do. And then, of course, mine is Hawaiian stuff, and I do really well. I don't know much about girls' dresses unless they're vintage Hawaiian dresses. So if I came at this from an angle of, okay, I've got this closet full of vintage Hawaiian pieces, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Should I have more? Or is it cool that I have a kind of a small lane?
So usually the lanes that work best on Poshmark are kind of all vintage, or all boho, or all preppy. So if you're going to stick to a lane, you're going to stick to a style. And
got it.
rather than kind of a genre. You're going to really stay to a style. And those closets are the far more successful closets. Generalist closets like mine, I get people coming in from SEO, coming into Posh and joining Posh just to buy something from me. So with you, you could get that too, but you already have that business on eBay. So like if you're going to do it, I would prefer, like I would recommend that you do something that is a little bit more generalized. So if you do all Hawaiian, but then you do kind of like boho festival clothes, that would be a great fit. Or vintage, all Hawaiian and vintage. That like a kind of a combination.
All right, cool. So let's look at some examples, because the one thing you point out to me, you're like, well, here, Jay, buy this skirt. They're full up on Poshmark, but they're still selling decent on eBay. And so you start to get to know, where to go. So I think you sent me some examples of, you want to talk about that now or at the end?
Yeah. So my closet is at Linama. In the Typhoon announcement, I added it this afternoon. And if you are going to download the app, my referral code is Linama. And if you want to learn the most efficient ways to use Poshmark and not kind of lose yourself in this new venture, join my Facebook group called Poshmark Analytics Sandbox. The Sandbox is a training group to get into my main group because we were answering the same questions a couple dozen times a month. So we just created a training center, and then you go through the training course for 3 days, and off you go into the main group where it's all data and nerd girls rejoicing. It's really fun.
And then if someone uses your code, is it like Uber and Lyft? Do you get a free ride?
You do. You get $5. So
nice.
Yeah, it's $5, right. And when you're buying something this weekend, so you can find out what a good Poshmark seller does.
There you go. So make sure you guys use that. All right, let's look at some examples here.
So this is on eBay. These are the recent sold items on eBay for the Barbie collection from the brand Wild Fox, which is super popular in Southern California. Before Poshmark, I had never heard of the brand Wild Fox. Being in Northern Colorado, it's really not my cup of tea. However, now when I see it, I do a little happy dance at the store. So these are the sold here on eBay, and they're really good. They're not particularly bad. And this is just for the specific Barbie collection. But then what the difference is Poshmark. So Poshmark, these are Poshmark solds. And so when I was doing this yesterday, the average Poshmark sold for this Barbie collection was $71.62. The average eBay sold for this Barbie collection was $49.75. So all told, the differences in commission, which is about 5%, is not going to make up for the loss that you're going to take by selling it on eBay versus Poshmark.
Average price of, you're getting $22 less on eBay.
Yep, for the same thing, for the same collection.
So, that's, I often talk about that with music. I still sell a lot of CDs, and, Amazon, eBay buyers are lazy folks. They just like to lay around, see what's up. Amazon, they need it now, so they'll tend to pay higher on some of those ran out of print CDs, and they'll pay more for shipping too. So those are the kind of things that you should start to learn if you're going to sell, and that's why we're doing this on multiple websites. You got to start to know where, you got one product. If you can get $100 on this website, make sure it goes on that website. Don't go to the website that you get 50 on. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So
and by the way, you said you had not heard of this brand until a little while ago. I had heard of it until 2 seconds ago. So thank you for opening my eyes to a new brand, because that would have never been on my radar in a million years.
Yeah, that was definitely a Happy Dance brand. I stick it away in my cart, nobody would notice. Particularly when I go source in other cities. In Colorado, I've seen it twice, but I went to California in March, and found so much of it. It was ridiculous. And so here is Madewell. Madewell, for some reason, is loved by poshers. So here on eBay, the average selling price for a Madewell sweater for the most recent Madewell sold was $17.56. So, you know, pretty decent. But then go over to Posh, and you'll see the huge difference in prices. The average Madewell sold sweater for the most recent sales on Poshmark is $47, which is an enormous difference. And there's one kind of sweater coat down in the corner. If we remove that outlier, because that's kind of a coat, kind of a sweater, it's still $37. So it's still $20 higher than what you would get on eBay.
So let me ask you this, because, and I don't know if anyone's asking the question. We do have a good amount of questions so far. And hey, Debbie, everyone say hi to Debbie. Thank you for compiling the questions, as always. So I'm looking at this screen right here, and I'm guessing the 4 pictures with people in it are stock photos from Madewell that someone just snagged. Is that what I'm guessing?
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely frowned upon on Poshmark, but
oh, it is. Okay, that was going to be my question.
Yeah, but unlike eBay, there's no stock photo police quite yet on Poshmark, and so there's certain brands that do come in and ask Poshmark to remove everything, and then you'll find all of your postings deleted one day. Ted Baker, for instance, which is a brand, Ted Baker has kind of said Poshmark a cease and desist order, and so they just go through and delete Ted Baker stuff. But Madewell hasn't done that yet, and Poshmark isn't getting rid of things that sell. So,
but hey, if we're all starting anew on a fresh foot here, let's do it proper way, just like I would teach you in the thrifting board, everywhere else in Secret Beach. Look, everyone can take shortcuts. They can do shenanigans. I do too, but guess what? I ain't never telling you about them. I ain't never teaching them. But I am going to teach you the proper way, and the proper way at a time will never get you in trouble. So.
Absolutely. And then with the stock photos, one of the things that eBay or Poshmark really prides itself on is this idea that all these women are seller stylists. So they feel more connected in general if the person like me, who's a size 14, is actually modeling a size large as opposed to a tiny little model. Makes a huge difference. And so people definitely connect with people who model themselves. But then if you look at the sweater up on the top row, third in, it's still sold for $55, just laying on a flat background. So it's not necessarily something you need to do to make more money. It's also an enormous waste of time and illegal. So what's the point?
So, and I'm glad you said that, because I want to make a point that I just noticed last night for the first time. So I buy most of my shirts from big and tall websites and companies because although I've lost weight, most of my height is in my torso, and I like my stuff longer. So the only way to do that is to buy 2XLT. And so the one thing I've always noticed in the big and tall realm, models are just bulkier, muscular guys.
Right.
And there's never any realistic looking dudes. And then just last night I was on DXL, it's my website of choice for big and tall sizes. They still had those guys. They're the guys I wish I was, but they had another guy who wasn't white. So that was an amazing thing too, because you only usually see big white guys. He wasn't white, and he wasn't all muscles. He was just a bigger dude. Now, he wasn't like fat. I'm not using that in a derogatory way, but it was really kind of refreshing. And that's a new angle, is to show, I think the women really started with the plus size models in the lingerie, and Ashley Graham, I think is her name, the plus size model. So, the fellas are following suit. So if the norm is to see normal people in their normal size, hey, that's what the bigger companies are doing too. So if you're incorporating that, that's cool.
Absolutely. I don't model myself, but a lot of poshers, like a lot of the six-figure poshers, hire models of all sizes, shapes, and races to model their clothes, even resale clothes, which is kind of surprising to me. But I have hired a model for my clothing before, and I actually saw returns on, and this is just resale clothes. It's not boutique, not a wholesale or anything.
So my assistant is I'll say normal size. She's not real tall, and she would fit into most of the dresses I want to sell. So would a good recommendation be to throw her in those dresses?
If she's willing to do it for what you pay her, yeah.
She owes me a couple. She owes me a couple favors right now, so I think I'll give it a whirl.
Yeah, particularly dresses that do not look particularly good on a hanger. Like here we have a bunch of sweaters. Sweaters don't necessarily need to be modeled. But I bet you over on the left-hand corner on the bottom, if that cardigan, that open front cardigan was modeled by a normal person, it probably would have sold for about $20 more than what it sold for. So
yeah, I fully agree. You know, there's vintage dresses that I get into that have the most wickedly cool, most awesome sleeves, but man, on a mannequin, you can't see it. You can't tell how bitchin' it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So those things, you know, like we're all like good at this by now. So, and here's Maeve by Anthropologie, which is a niche brand within the Anthropologie family. Here it is on eBay. If people go to the bins, you find it, you get excited. But on eBay, the average selling price was $18, and I just used these small sample sizes of 8. But then Posh is really where it's at when it comes to all Anthropologie. The average selling price for Anthropologie Maeve for the last 8 recently sold items as of yesterday, $69.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's the difference between Poshmark and eBay. And Anthropologie is one of those brands where if you're modeling it yourself and not using stock photos, the prices go up because people really want to see what they look like. And Anthropologie is just Poshmark, like, defined. Like, all the Anthro brands just fly out of my closet. I rarely pay over $4 for anything in my closet, but if it's a good high-level Anthropologie item, I will pay more because I know it's going to sell fast, unless it's an extra small. But that's all of our problems.
So how many items in your closet right now?
I have about 400 active items. So once you get up to the algorithm for Poshmark seems to reward certain thresholds. One of those thresholds is 50, another one's 200, another one's 400. So once you get up to 400, you have to work really, really hard to maintain it. And then 600 is another one where you work very hard to maintain it because everything just flies off the shelf.
I can do 50 easily.
Yeah.
And I can do your 30 minutes. Well, when I say I mean Sophia. But but it will be getting done from this, Tiki Pug music, and I can definitely see because we're coming along on eBay. I want to hire a new photo assistant so I can take her away from that, and that way too I can have my photo assistant taking pictures of Sophia in the dresses. See, I've got it all worked out. See, yeah. I'm gonna build a new empire. Thank you.
So on Poshmark, I had an assistant last summer who was a high school student. And she was an honors student and really skilled at creative writing. And I found that she did really well, but some of her attention to detail, which is really important on Poshmark, lacked. So if you are going to do an assistant for anything on Poshmark, I would really recommend that you go through the keys to make sure that it's defined correctly. And Sophia does this for a living with you, I understand. Yep. But if you're bringing someone in as an assistant to really kind of cross-post to Poshmark, it's really important for you to get the right details in. So if it's I love skirting things because on Posh, you can be creative. Definitely different than eBay. So when I can't figure out if it's navy or black, I always describe it as an inky black or a midnight black. And on Poshmark, that's completely legit. So it's not an item not as described because you described it as an inky black. Ink is blue. Everybody understands that. So you can be a lot more creative, but people really want a good idea of what they're buying. Versus just a really cut and dry Poshmark or eBay description.
So we're gonna get into questions here to finish up, but I do have a question. I don't think it was asked, but based on what you just said, what's the returns like on Poshmark? How many do you get now? And I know you're now selling a little bit here and there on eBay. So how does it compare?
So I'm not a top rated seller on eBay because I just really started it because of the Secret Beach. But on Poshmark, my return rate is probably at 2%. I sell 100 items, 2 things come back to me. And on Poshmark, they don't penalize you for that. So unless you're doing something fraudulent, but if it was a matter of the customer got it and they realized that it had more issues than you disclosed, it just comes back to you. Poshmark sends a label to your buyer, and your buyer pops it into a priority mailbox and sends it back to you.
And who pays for that label?
Poshmark does. So, yeah. So Poshmark doesn't allow returns for things like fit and preference. So if you get something from Poshmark that doesn't fit you, you need to reposh it. You can't just send it back.
Reposh it. I like that.
Yeah. So you're stuck with it. It's kind of final sale. However, if you sell something and you don't accurately describe what it is, and you miss a hole in it, or you say that it has something and it does not have, say, a belt, that person can return it. And Poshmark really doesn't pay too much attention to it until you do it too many times. And then Poshmark will call you and say, hey.
Yeah, you pick up your phone and says Poshmark's calling. It's probably not a good call.
Unless you're me, and then they're asking you to speak somewhere or something.
Yeah, I'll say, but outside of you.
Yeah. Generally, Poshmark has, it's a smaller company. It's in the startup phases, so it's definitely not there for customer service versus eBay. I've had a couple questions for eBay. I call the number and get it answered. Poshmark, you kind of have to wait a few days. They send you a form letter that doesn't answer your question. You write back. You wait a couple days. So very different kind of environments.
Cool. All right, let's roll through the questions here. Nellie wants to know: is it geared towards name brands like ThreadUp?
On Posh, there's 2 really distinct sides of Poshmark. One is boutique and wholesale. So if you if you have a private label, or you do small arbitrage of boutique brands, you can certainly sell them on Poshmark without having a label. You can label it as yourself, as your boutique name on Poshmark. For me, I definitely go towards labels because those labels have already done the marketing for me, and I don't have to pay any money for marketing. And I just reap the benefits of selling something that is highly sought after or coveted and make money that way. If you go in and you sell a mass merchandise brand, people generally don't buy those on Poshmark because the shipping is so high. So why buy something that you could buy at Target on Posh when you can just buy it at Target? Because the price is for the shipping, $6.50, really adds to something. So if you buy a $10 shirt on Posh, you can go into Target itself and buy it for $18 and not need to worry about the shipping. So I definitely end up going to a more selective brands on purpose.
Cool. All right, so Nancy, oops, wrong window. Nancy says, I buy more on Poshmark than sell. I love how you can bundle something and then the buyer, and then I'm guessing she meant, then the seller can message you with a personal discount if you buy.
Yeah, that's a new thing, and it's worked really well for me in my business. So if you go in Poshmark and you really like my curated style in my closet, you can put 20 items in a bundle, and I can send you a discounted rate. So I know if I got it at the bins, or if I got it at a thrift store for 60 cents, or if it's actually getting pulled out of my own closet where I did spend money for it. So for a lot of sellers like me, a lot of resellers, I can make a lot of money in a very short amount of time because of those bundles. And they're really advantageous as a seller, but they're amazing as a buyer as well.
So Susan says, I have to say, I love how simple, quick, and easy it is to list on Poshmark, much easier than Etsy and eBay, but I find that I don't interact enough because it takes time to do. So I think, and that was asked way before you showed your 30-minute method. So I would definitely say, Susan, try that out and let's see how it works for you. And let's hear back. Let's hear results. Let's hear everyone who is, you know, getting up and running on this, or those of you who are on it. If you take what Lynn's told us today, maybe, you know, tweak how you do it and see how it works for you. Because that'd be great to hear
Absolutely.
the successes or failures, because, you know, don't, you know, look, you watch Thrifty Business every week. I give you my duds. Don't be afraid to share your failures, because that's how you learn. I find I learn more from my mistakes than my successes.
And because I'm an analytical soul, I'll tell you that the people, so 80% of the people who do the 30-minute method do really well with it, and then 20% don't have success. In that 20%, I've reached out and I've learned that it's people who have less than 80 items. It's also people who have very specific niches. So either children's clothes or all men's clothes. They're not diversified in any way. So those are the people who generally kind of lag, as opposed to put it up there and try it. So when it comes to listings.
There's a great question from Ellie. Do they pay through PayPal or credit cards on file, or how's that work?
So Poshmark, it takes care of all of the credit cards. So when you buy something on Poshmark, Poshmark is the seller. So Poshmark does all of the payment processing for you, and that's part of the 20%. As is returns, as is marketing, as is shipping. So it's really nice that way.
Jane Boyd says, so no cosmetics at all?
So on non-used makeup. So any used makeup is against the rules on Poshmark. One thing that I didn't mention is on Poshmark, a compliant closet is really important. So Poshmark has all of these rules, like no nail polish, no perfume, nothing that plugs in, for instance. You want to keep compliant, because people like me will go into your closet looking to, you know, reward you and find something wrong with your closet. And as representatives of like this greater Poshmark community, as these power poshers, as we're called, we can't choose you because you have a non-compliant closet, and you get dinged by the Posh police, for instance. And so even though I'm not necessarily a stickler based on my own self, I know my image as a Poshmark seller is important, that I don't choose to reward people who don't follow the rules. So compliance for Poshmark is really important. And you can go to the Poshmark blog and find out what you can sell on Poshmark and when you can't. And they take it really seriously on Posh. So maybe not stock photos, but good gracious, don't sell perfume.
All right. That was just cosmetics. Debbie and Max want to know about jewelry.
Yep, jewelry is absolutely fun.
Do you do jewelry?
Yep, absolutely. And they can do luxury jewelry too, like fine jewelry or costume jewelry. It doesn't matter. Vintage does really well on Posh. One thing about Posh that's really important to remember is the $6.50 shipping charge. So if you're going to pop some jewelry up for $12, it's not going to sell very fast. So you'll need to either kind of set it up so you can bundle a bunch of costume jewelry together, or do it as a lot. For instance, like here's a bracelet and a necklace that you think that the same person would like, and you price it at $30, and you'll get more interest than if you just price a made in China ring for $10.
I'm assuming, Kara Cooper wants to know, I'm assuming you have to do all your own listings directly. Like you could not import an eBay listing into your Poshmark closet.
No, Posh isn't there yet. It's kind of still in its startup phase. It's not a publicly listed company. It's still a private company. And Posh only employs a few hundred people. And so those big selling benefits aren't there on Poshmark yet. So when you do it,
so Debbie, who compiles the question, wants to know: Do sellers have more than one closet?
You need to have special permission from Poshmark to have more than one closet. So you could ask Poshmark support to have more than one closet. For instance, if I wanted to have a all outdoor gear closet, because I live in Colorado, I could ask Poshmark to do that and have a very specifically outdoor gear oriented closet.
Gotcha. Mary, I think this is Mary. Wants to know, do you cross list on Poshmark, Etsy, and or eBay, or do you keep your Poshmark listings on Poshmark alone?
Well, like most of the people in the secret beach, I have death piles upon death piles. So right now I'm just happy to get those individual pieces listed and not necessarily cross-posted. I do cross-post onto Tradesy. So all my really high-end items, I will cross-post onto eBay and Tradesy because like high-end over $100. But other than that, I just kind of stick to lanes. eBay goes here, Posh goes there, and I don't really mess around with too much cross-posting.
So what I do, and I don't know if you've ever done this, especially around Christmas time, I'll find CDs that really need that special customer, but they're worth like $200. So I'm just ballsy and I list it everywhere. And then the second it sells, because it is such an expensive one, there's not going to be this clamoring for like 20 people at once to want a $200 CD. It is ballsy, but knock on wood, it has not burned me yet.
Right.
But I wouldn't do it on a $10 item, but I would do it on a $200 CD.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
I want most on as possible. But you got to be on it. If you can't be on it, you can't have it listed in multiple places.
Right. I have a $600 bag that I have listed in 3 different places right now. Just because if someone's going to buy a $600 bag, I'm gonna know who they are. And I'm gonna know that sale when it comes in, probably the second it comes in. So I'm not gonna lose my $600 bag. So, but I wouldn't do it with a, $16 item.
What Debbie wants to know, is it easy to get banned on Poshmark like it is on Etsy? Now, I didn't know getting banned on Etsy was an easy thing.
It is easy to get blacklisted on Poshmark. So Poshmark is a social app. So if you do something wrong to a person who has a large following, there's some blackballing going on, kind of high school that way. So there is that element. If you're not as, if you come across as rude or if you do something that's unethical, people find out really quickly. The top seller Poshmark community is very small, and we all talk to each other on a daily basis. And so you're not going to get banned by Posh generally unless you sell a bunch of fakes and counterfeits. But the people of Posh they're going to take note of you if you do some unethical things. Because it's a social site, like you can, like one of the big faux pas of Poshmark is you pop in and you say, oh, by the way, you can get this dress on eBay for $200 and you're selling it for $600. Well, that angers people. It's pretty significant way. And if you do that too many times, everybody knows who you are and your Poshmark business is done for.
All right. So Chris Nelson says, I see articles about counterfeits on Posh, as well as people in Facebook groups who are told that their item is fake and they respond, okay, I'll just sell it on Poshmark. How does Poshmark respond?
So Poshmark, you can't sell it on Posh either. Illegal is illegal, whatever platform it is. Particularly, like we saw some of that in the thrifting board the other day, where gentleman was told that his shoes were fake by multiple people, and he went ahead and listed it on eBay just the same. Obviously, there's that element of it, but here in Beachcomber land, we would hope that we're all at the point where we're not going to be listing fakes intentionally. And unlike with eBay, like if you have a doubt and you pop it on, someone tells you it's a replica, you take it off immediately. So eBay punishes you for that. Poshmark might not punish you as severely as eBay does. It still doesn't make it right. It still doesn't make it part of the culture.
Yeah, you might not have seen it, but we lost a few more surfers in the thrifting board because they were mad that we were stifling the conversation on selling bootleg 90s shirts from, that looked like Guess, but they weren't really Guess and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the people who left us, or actually got removed, was because, well, selling drugs is illegal too. That was his retort. I'm like, are you kidding me right now?
Yeah.
Why can't we talk about it? It's popular and hot. All the kids want the illegal shirts from the 90s. I'm like, that's fine. And I'm sure there's plenty of groups that would love to talk about it. Here's one group that ain't talking about it.
Right.
Well, here's what we're going to talk about. Don't sell illegal goods. It'll only harm you in the end.
Yeah. Yeah. And the same thing is, Yeah, as a person who has an advanced education in public policy, I will tell you that illegal merchandise is, it funds terrorism. It funds some stuff that we don't want to fund, and I have no tolerance for it generally. And top sellers on Poshmark don't either. It's one thing to be duped yourself as a reseller and do something in earnest by mistake, but it's another thing to intentionally, go after it. There's a really great group on Facebook called the Designer Database, and if you have any questions, you can go and be part of that group. And there's a bunch of experts like me. Like, I'm a Burberry expert. You can put something up that's Burberry, and I can tell you if it's fake, and I can generally tell you what factory it was made in because it was as a fake. So, and that's just all free. So that's called the Designer Database, and I highly recommend it. And they're expecting you. Secret Beach people. I got permission to mention you. mention them.
That's awesome. Make sure you guys all write that down. Do not let that slide by.
Yeah. So if you ever wanted a bunch of friends like me who could tell, like, if a Burberry was made in a China factory, I'm there for you over on Designer Database, just for free, telling you if it's fake or not.
And then kind of following up, Anne said, I see tons of fake stuff selling and people listed as designer inspired and boldly say their replicas are fakes. And then Chris Nelson kind of said the same thing. I see designer items on Posh that aren't found anywhere else.
Right. Posh just started a peer-to-peer review process in the last couple months, and the replicas are definitely falling off far faster than they've ever done before. Posh gets, I think, $100 million worth of listings every day. So it's hard for a team of a couple hundred to monitor and manage that. But with the peer-to-peer reviews, you can always report the items, and then people like me are asked by Posh to go in and confirm or deny that this person has listed something fake or something against Posh rules or something mistagged. Like, you want eyeballs on it, so you list it as a different brand, but it's really Forever 21. So yeah, sorry, just a go.
So we have these kind of discussions all the time in the group when it comes to concert t-shirts, because I have this like sixth sense. I'm like the concert t-shirt whisperer. I can tell instantly when something's a fake based on a bunch of criteria that until I wrote it down, I'm pretty much sure that wasn't rattled around anyone else's head. But then again, not a lot of people have been to 2,000 concerts in their life. So I've seen a lot, and I started to realize, excuse me guys, sorry about that. Many years ago, it's easy to spot fakes once you know what you're looking for. So like you said, if you've been duped, yeah, you saw the Queen t-shirt with the tour dates on the back hanging on the rack. You didn't know any better, you bought it. But once I've explained it to you, it's fake for these 7 reasons. Yeah, don't go list it then. There is no point in it, because if Queen decides to say, or Freddie Mercury's estate says, hey, eBay, this person's selling a bootleg shirt, and it ain't worth enough for the potential problems you could have. Because I've had things in my 18 years on eBay, I've had things pulled that were not legal to sell for a variety of reasons, and most of them were unbeknownst to me. But because I made an error accidentally, if I now make a specific error that I know I'm making and I get busted again, now I got real problems. So even when you get busted accidentally, you really got to mind your P's and Q's for a while until that kind of disappears into the ethers. Right.
And like with Poshmark, there are people who make our platform shine and sing, and like, there are people like me who can call up the CEO of Poshmark and have a conversation with them anytime I want. But there's also the same kind of people who will sell fake bags on the street. They're going to start popping into Poshmark too. But Poshmark definitely has a way of elevating people who are ethical, who are doing the things properly, into positions of social media status and speaking at Posh Fest and all of that. So the community of Poshmark generally takes care of Poshmark. And so, which is different. You know, it's definitely high school clique sometimes, but it functions and it works really well. So
we'll end on Ann's question because it ties right in. Ann said, so are peers, and that's a term on Poshmark, educated in identifying fakes?
Often, yes. So there's probably, I would say, maybe 10,000 people who are experts at designer luxury items on Poshmark. And those are the people who are going through and reporting generally. If I'm having an angry day, for instance, I'll go to Poshmark and start reporting people for fakes, just out of spite, just to make myself feel a little bit better. So there's a lot of us who do that. So there is some checks and balances there, but it's not as severe as eBay any day. Like eBay is severe, Poshmark is not.
Well, I am excited. I want to get on Poshmark. I hope everyone watching live and after the fact, you guys get excited. Those of you already on there and you're doing good at it. Hopefully some things today, especially Lynn's 30 minutes a day, will help you make it a little bit better. And those of you who are new to it, you know, don't be afraid. Try something new. You know, Lynn said she was afraid of the big bad monster that is eBay. But since then, since hanging out with us in the Secret Beach and the thrift board, she's been selling on eBay. And she was telling me, she's like, hey, Jay, I'm selling some stuff on eBay. So
I know.
You know, I was hanging out with a good friend who makes his own products and mainly sells on Amazon. He was just here for a conference, and he goes, hey, Jay, I finally started selling my products on eBay. And all suddenly, in the first 3 weeks, he added another $2,000 to the bottom line. I'm like, what were you waiting for? I've always told you there are different customers on every platform. So if you have a product that can go, multiple platforms, get it up everywhere, because you never know where that customer is going to, when you're laying on the couch playing on your phone, some of us play on eBay, some of us play on Poshmark, some of us play on OfferUp. So if you can reach out to everybody or a majority, then you have better options to sell more, make more, enjoy life more.
So I have a surprise for you all.
I like surprises. Yay.
Once you join the Poshmark Analytics Sandbox, you go through my training course, which takes about 3 days. You just need to do the 30-minute method 3 times in a row consecutively on 3 different days. You go into the main group, and on the main group, I have a list compiled by hundreds of different Poshers of the best-selling brands on Poshmark versus eBay. Just compiled just for you guys. So more Wild Fox, more Anthropologie, more Madewell, and probably 100 more brands that sell considerably higher on Poshmark than they do on eBay. So that's ready for you.
That is beyond generous, and you just set the new standard for the guest typhoons, because that's crazy generous. Now, everyone listening, don't let that opportunities miss you. Go do it. Go through it. Get to it, learn it, excel at it, and then bring it back to the Secret Beach. And like I said, let's talk about it. What's your ups? What's your downs? How'd you do? And as soon as I get back and I get this rolling, I'll be doing the exact same thing. I'm going to go through it. I'm going to get selling. I'm going to get Sophia trained on it. And I'm going to make her watch this. So I won't let her, hey, don't no one tell her that she's going to be a model. She'll find out.
So one last thing about Poshmark. Clear, consistent photos always win the day. Really make sure that you have an aesthetic that you're going with from the first day of listing. It's not something where you can just have some detritus in the background. You really have to make it clean and crisp. These shoppers on Poshmark are millennials, and they do care very much about the aesthetics of how something is listed. So people who list beautifully get more money, and they sell faster.
There you go. That's a beautiful way to end.
Thanks, everyone.
Oh, Lynn, thank you so much. I can't wait till we hang and hit a thrift store again and a tiki bar. So let's do that again in the near future. It was a ton of fun, eye-opening experience hanging out with you and the girls. And I would love to do it again. So, and thank you for being a part of the Secret Beach. And thank you for doing this, because this was pretty amazing.
This was really great. Thank you so much for having me.
And with that, I will say goodbye, all. And I'll be in Utah, Salt Lake City. So I don't know if you were watching live, but I'll see a few of you for the hangout on a Wednesday night. So I'll see you then. Bye, everybody.
Bye.